where data visualization gladiators battle for supremacy. The motivation, one man's dream of encountering new and original physics, mirroring the art and science of data visualization. Every year, 3 are chosen. From carnage comes clarity, as our champions fight to find the perfect view. Working from sources that range from IPO data to IMDb and Yelp reviews, our champions and their fallen brethren have inspired us all. Today, we return to the hallowed birthplace of the IronViz Championship, Las Vegas. Welcome to the 5th anniversary of the world's preeminent visualization competition, IronViz.
Welcome to Viz Stadium for the 5th anniversary Tableau IronViz Championship. Today we have gathered before you some of the finest Vizzers in the world to answer the simple question: whose Viz will reign supreme? Our contestants must battle each other with the same identical dataset in order to create the finest visual story in the room. They will have only 20 minutes to create at least 2 visualizations and combine them on one dashboard or story. This is a feat some of the world's most talented analysts would collapse attempting. Yet, the contestants we have before you are the world's preeminent data artists, and there's not a set in the world that would slow them down. Before I introduce our contestants, please allow me to introduce my fellow commentator, Jewel Luray. Jewel is a senior data analyst with Tableau Public and has created hundreds of visualizations, making her uniquely qualified to be joining me here today. Thanks for being here, Jewel.
Happy to be here, Ross.
Our first contestant is Shine Kulakathara. Shine is a data visualization specialist with Deloitte. He enjoys using his technical, business, and design skills to help his clients find insight in their data. Shine won the WikiViz contest earlier this year with this masterpiece of a visualization showing the history of French Impressionist painters.
Assisting Shine today, we have Charles Vaughn, a senior software engineer at Tableau who has a flair for the dramatic and the engaging. He's famous on Reddit for his Dota vizzes, and he's ready to really help Shine shine.
Matt Chambers is our second contestant. Matt is an information management and analytics consultant at Slalom Consulting. He has a varied and diverse background in visualization development, analytics, and application development. Matt won the 10x Data Viz contest with his view of flight weather delays across the U.S.
Assisting Matt today, we have Adrian Charles, a Tableau product consultant based in Europe. Every day, Adrian helps clients build beautiful vizzes and tackle tough data. His skill in visual best practices is sure to come in handy for Matt.
Our third contestant is Skylar Johnson. Skylar is a technology consultant with Accenture in Houston and a Rice University alum. He is an enormous music fan who has been to over 403, well, I guess it's more like 408 live shows in the US and the world this year alone. It should come as no surprise then that Skylar won the Music Viz contest with his view of the most popular music festivals in the US.
Assisting Skylar today, we have Rayhan Hassan, a software engineer at Tableau, and he got his spot as an IronViz Vizzer by creating a dashboard about his Facebook wall posts that show that his friends are much nicer to him on his birthday.
Well, audience, would you agree? Do we have the best Vizzers in the world on stage? Before we go competing, let's see how they'll be judged.
Well, judging starts with you, the audience. As you can see, we have 3 hashtags here. They have IV for IronViz, and then the first 3 letters of the name of the contestant that they connected. So you can use these hashtags to tweet for the contestant you want to see win. The contestant that gets the most tweets will get 10 points added to their final score. The second place will get 5 points, and the last place, unfortunately, gets no points. Oftentimes, the margin between winners is less than 10 points, so your votes matter, so make sure you get to tweeting. In addition to our Twitter scores, we have our panel of expert judges that will be here using these subjective categories to judge visual aesthetics, strength of story, and Viz best practices. As you can see, Viz best practices and strength of story are the most important with 35 points each. Ross, what data are we going to be working with today?
Well, it's rare that you find a data set that combines deep social, temporal, and numerical data all into one neat package. Except we do it every year. But here we have it today. Contestants, prepare yourselves for Battle GDEL data. What is it? Well, it's nothing more than a worldwide collection of thousands of different news outlets that contains nearly every newsworthy statement. We know who said it, who they said it to, when it happened, where it happened, and perhaps most importantly, we have the source URLs. This data source has over 8 million records and spans from January of 2014 all the way to last week. In short, what we've collected here is the pulse of the world's conversation. There is just one more thing. As a very special gift to our 5th anniversary contestants, we're allowing them to blend, yes, blend any raw data set they find on the web with the GDEL data, provided that they use the GDEL as their primary source. Contestants, your year-long toil has brought you here. There's 5,000 eyes on you, $2,000 on the line, and your only job is to create the finest visual story in the room. Mice at the ready. Audience, I'm going to need your help counting down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. IronViz! And they're off. As our contestants get started, please allow us to introduce our panel of judges. First up, we are honored to have back on stage Anya Hearn. Anya won the 2012 IronViz Championship. In addition to that highest of honors, she is also a Tableau Zen Master and has her own data consultancy, DataBook. Anya, what's it going to take for our contestants to win today?
Pink and glitter. That's what I always say. I'm looking for clarity of story. I'm looking for elegance in the design. I really want to make the data pop, and I want to know what the news is saying around the world.
Thank you, Anya. Our next judge is Elisa Fink, CMO of Tableau Software and Viz enthusiast of the highest order. Elisa is ready to tell our contestants the hard truth, or the easy truth, depending on how excellent their Vizes are. Elisa, what are you going to be looking for from our contestants today?
Well, I'm a bit of a news junkie, so I'm going to be looking for a great news story. Give me the story arc, give me the drama. And I like news, so don't try to fool me. I love the beauty and the clarity, but give me the great story.
Thank you, Elisa.
Our third judge is Dr. Jock McKinley, Tableau's Senior Vice President of Visual Analytics. Jock has spent his entire life analyzing the intricate interactions between the eye and the human brain. Jock, what will it take for our contestants to win the visual analytics and storytelling portion of this competition?
Absolutely excellence is what it takes to win. I'm obviously focused on both best practices and the strength of the story, but aesthetics also really matters. So, particularly if it's being not gratuitous, but really being used as part of making the data shine.
Making a great story, and a clear story, is always a good step when you're creating a Viz for the IronViz Championship. Alright, so we have 3 excellent Sue-Vizers on stage with us today, and I think that while our contestants get started warming up on their visualizations, it's only right to tease them just a little bit. So I think that we'll start with Adrian. And Adrian, did you tell me that when you originally applied to Tableau, you weren't quite sure what you were applying to? Wait, can you start again? It looks like we didn't have the mic on there.
always cut the microphone for the French people. I don't know why. Yeah, so yes, you're correct. When I got there, I found this company Tableau. Don't even know what that is. I say, that looks good. Let's try that, and yeah, made it.
Right. And actually, Rayhan, you're going to have to remind me about your fun fact because you sent it to me a little bit late, so I didn't get it.
Sure. Fun fact, I'm procrastinating. So I moved to Seattle a few years ago, and in preparation for that, I watched every episode of Frasier. So that's 264 episodes, and about 30 episodes in, I realized that the show is not about Seattle at all. But I did learn that fancy people drink sherry.
Well, thank you for that insight. And Charles, I'm completely drawing a blank as well. Can you remind us?
Fine. I mentor high school kids on a robotics team in the area of Blaine. So all things bright and shiny. So sometimes it's important to look good while you're doing amazing things. So, you know, it's amazing stuff. So.
Excellent. Well, we're starting to see a lot of action here. Rayhan, can you tell me a little bit about the calculations that Skylar is writing right now and what they're for?
Well, Skylar has put together a great viz for you today. I think you'll be really excited. One of the calculations that Skylar is going to do is to separate out news sources. So we have the URLs for the articles that came through in this data set, but he's extracting out just the news source so we can kind of separate them and see which ones. Well, I'll let Skylar, I don't want to give anything away, but
Does that kill all the surprise?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ray.
It is a very challenging data source. It's very full of information, but when you're dealing with 8 million records, sometimes it can be difficult to distill a story that's kind of small enough to be able to consume in an interesting way. And Adrian, how did Matt approach this?
Yeah, funny story about that. So I landed on Sunday here in Vegas, and I said to Matt, where shall we meet? And Matt is a serious guy, so he said, at the bar, of course. So he was waiting for me with a pint. Thank you for that. And we ended up gambling a bit and losing money, of course. So we had the idea of doing the opposite and helping people out with our bit. So what Matt is doing is he's going to help people to understand and see if there is a bias in any news or any article on this dataset.
That's interesting.
Charles, can you tell us a little bit about what Shine's strategy is for tonight?
Yeah, I think Shine saw what I saw early on looking at this data, which is always good to sort of know you're on the same mental wavelength as your IronVizer. And that is, this is an extremely treacherous data set. This may actually be one of the most challenging data sets IronViz has ever used. There's a lot of machine learning derived data in here. There are a lot of little baits where you think you might be able to make a good story from it, but when you actually look in the context, very easy to lie with this data set. The very first thing Shine started talking to me about was how he was unhappy with some of the fields that were made available in the data set and how he was trying to tell a similar story, bring that in, but at the same time be absolutely truthful with this. So it's a very challenging data set to really nail how accurate events are. And that's something very important with this data set. This is a data set that contains terrible events. This is a data set that contains outpourings of support from one country to another. So it's really something crucially, you don't want to have the easy temptation to lie there. And that's what Shine brought to our early conversations. So
thank you for that. Well, down in the audience we have our correspondent Andy Cotgreave, who looks like he is with last year's IronViz champion. So if we can get a shot of Andy here, I think he's going to ask some questions.
All right, that's right, Ross. Thank you very much. It's great to be here down in the audience and getting a sense of the atmosphere. I'm here with last year's winner, John Mathis. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing great.
much happier to be watching than participating this year around.
Absolutely, it's quite a nerve-wracking experience. So tell me, John, what do you think the audience can take away from watching an event like IronViz?
You know, I think there are a couple things all competitors in the IronViz across all years have done to be successful. Tableau is a very iterative tool, and using that to explore the data set in the first place, find the story you want to tell, and then develop that story is something that is critical to success. And I think everyone here can take that back to their job when they go back on Monday, if they go back on Monday.
You know, what happens in Vegas might stay here, right? Hopefully the people won't. Okay, and what did IronViz teach you?
I think there was a couple things I took away. Coming at it with a fresh perspective, being a little bit creative, taking a different point of view, I think was a lot of what led to success last year. I challenge my clients when I'm with them to think about their problems in different ways. Don't just try and recreate the same report you've always been creating with a new tool. Take a different approach. And so I think that will lead to success this time around, and I wish all 3 contestants luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you, Jonathan.
It's all coming together.
Stage.
All right, so earlier, Rehan, you were telling me a little bit about some interesting tactics you were using to make sure that Skylar could handle the pressure of being up here on the stage. Can you tell the audience what you were doing?
Yeah, we had boxing training. I mean, there was like, you know, obviously the big boxing match was in this arena, so we kind of got pumped up that way. We, you know, we ran laps around the pool. We used the lazy river, just did laps there too. Yeah, we really, yeah. So we're just cool as cucumbers at this point.
People don't realize that you also have to be in peak physical shape to survive the extreme pressure of IronViz.
And that's true. And we can see that Skylar has his hair in Viz mode, which is a ponytail backwards. So that's very powerful.
It's getting serious now.
Now, just a second ago, I think it was Shine that was creating a ramp viz. Or actually, Jock, you're going to have to remind me, what's the name of the visualization where you have a line, a slope graph? Yes, okay, thank you. So it's an interesting viz type. I don't think that we've seen an IronViz before. Adrian, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes right now?
J'entends pas ce que tu dis, je comprends pas quand tu parles anglais. Yeah, Matt is doing here a scatter plot to show us the repartition of the bias in the article. So it's going to give you an idea of who just told the truth and who keep the fact true, depending on your source. It's going to be awesome.
Now, the job of the supervisor is exceptionally important. It's not just a job where you help them technically, although that's a big part of the job, but the other part of the job that's extremely important is being there for emotional support and really supporting your contestant. And if there's anybody that knows about that, it's Mr. Dan Fong. We're lucky enough to be able to interview with Andy Conkery right now. So we'll go back to Andy. And Andy, what does Dan have to say about being a supervisor?
Well, thanks very much, Ross. Let's find out. Dan, can you tell me a little bit about your sous-vising history, please?
Sure. So I've been a sous-visitor 3 times, starting from the very beginning, for Alex Karen, who almost won, for Anya Ahern the next year, who did win, for Ryan Sleeper the next year, who also won.
2 for 3 victories. Is that why we stopped you being a sous-visitor again, do you think?
You know, I think it's also one of those things. I don't want to admit that it might be true, but no. It's just such a good experience that it's one of those things that you have to give up, and you have to be able to say that you know, bring some new talent in, bring some people who can provide contestants with new experiences. You don't want the same person helping out with the same thing all the time, right? So.
Absolutely not. So what advice would you give to these sous-visors and any future sous-visors?
Being a sous-visor is, you know, as Ross said, is a lot about providing confidence and reminding them that everything is going to be okay. Your heart starts beating really fast. You've got 20 minutes to do this entire list of things that you might have prepared, and while you're going, you find new things at the same time. Just reminding them what you need to do, kind of what the next process is, and have a little fun. I mean, being a sous-visior is a little bit about being a comedian personality.
Got any jokes?
Oh gosh.
We maybe will come back to you on that. All right, with that, thanks Daniel, thanks to Ross and Jill.
As you can see, audience, we are well over halfway through our points, so don't forget to be tweeting who you want because you're running out of time.
7 minutes and 33 seconds left. And actually, with this, I'd like to go to Anya and hear a little bit from her, because Anya, I remember when you were creating your viz, you know, you had kind of a nonchalant attitude as you were going by. You seemed very calm. Is it hard to retain your cool when you're on the IronViz stage?
It's frightening. It's frightening to be out there. So power to them. It's amazing. You just try and block everything out, focus on what you did, and concentrate and get her done. Like, so cheers to all you guys, because that's what they're doing. They're getting it done.
Let's talk a little bit about these visits, because we're starting to see some dashboarding already, which is fantastic. We like to see that early and see the stories come together. But Elisa, from this first glance that we're having at these dashboards, is there anything that catches your eye that just makes you think, oh, that's an interesting viz or an interesting story that might be a good one to dig into?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the stories emerge. And so, like, Skylar has something going on about positivity and what's going on across countries and comparing across countries. And it looks like Shine's doing something about trying to characterize a particular country and the kind of news they have. So I like both of those stories. You know, particularly like, you know, you often wonder how's the news being reported in another place. So it's kind of fun to be able to navigate that way. And you kind of get a different point of view. You get a real drill down from Shine, and you get more of a more comparative view with Skylar. I'm interested in seeing Matt. He's done some complicated calculations and standard deviations and z-scores. Interested to see how that all comes together. So, but it's looking really good.
Doc, how about you? I know that you don't like to comment too early in the competition, but now that we're starting to see some of these visualizations come together, is there anything that you see up here that you're surprised to see?
So first of all, I really like Skylar's use of a palette that's good for colorblind people. I think that's a really good choice to do, is going from orange to blue, which is better for people who happen to be colorblind, which is about 10% of the population. There are two of these visits have tree maps on them. What tree maps are interesting about is that they can show you the entire categorical data set, and particularly in Skylar's view, you can see this really massive tree map that goes way down. We'll see whether it fits with the story once he explains the view. And then, of course, Matt's also got a tree map. And one of the things I liked about Shines is, you know, he's clearly going for a newspaper theme. So for the storytelling, he has that nice font at the top that tells the newspaper parts. But it's the monitor over there, and I haven't completely grokked it yet. So.
Fair enough. Well, luckily, when we go to the judging portion, we'll be able to see the entire viz on the main screen. So it'll definitely be up close and personal. 4 minutes and 26 seconds left, contestants.
I'd like to hear a little bit from some of the Sue-Vizzers about what you're thinking of the other visualizations from the other Vizzers that aren't your own. So, Charles, are you and Shine worried about what you see over on Matt's screen and Skylar's screen?
Well, no, I mean, Shine's been focusing on making sure that what he delivers is from his aesthetic, from his own personal authorship. He's been focusing on his stuff. Me personally, I look at this data set, I ask myself what viz would I make with it, and I start to lose a little more hair than usual. It's very challenging, it's very interesting. I was very curious to see what different stories people would be able to tell with this. There's almost 8 million stories in this data set. So how do you tell one? And so looking at some of these, seeing the positivity stuff, on Skylar, I'm getting a good kind of feel with his use of colors. I'm very interested. I can't actually see too well the slope chart. I'm very interested. I'm excited to see what comes out of that. But ultimately, my boy Shine here is knocking it out of the park, and so it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
So Rehan, it looks like activity over at your booth is pretty much stopped. Are you guys done already?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That is pretty impressive. 2 minutes and 55 seconds left. And so are you worried that maybe you could have done something more?
You know, they said it wasn't a race. Doesn't mean we can't make the race.
That's a very good point. All right, and Adrian, do you have anything supportive or not supportive to say about your other contestants' visualizations?
Well, Joel said, I'm allowed to say that the two other dashboards are crap. So no, I mean, apart from that, you can see a slope chart. So what this is showing you is what is the bias for a specific news source on a specific keyword. So here we are focusing on the United States, and you can see who has a positive bias or a negative bias.
Very well. 2 minutes left. This is go time. Although they all seem very calm right now. I'd say that the mood on the Viz stage is one of confidence. Although only one can walk away with that win and $2,000
and eternal glory.
Well, audience, we had the opportunity to allow you to vote with your tweets. And so if you are currently thinking that you're in support of a particular visitor on the stage, I suggest that you get your tweets out now. But I'm also going to allow you an opportunity to make some noise and encourage your contestant right before we get to the end here. So those of you that are liking what Shine's putting together, let him know. Who likes what Matt's put together? And it looks like Skylar's taking a selfie of all of you, so you better clap for him. Sounds like pretty even support from the Viz audience here. 48 seconds left. Okay, now as we come down and finish the competition, in the last 15 seconds, audience, I'm going to need your help. We're going to count down from 15 so that they know exactly when they're going to have to put their mice down and call it a day on Viz Stadium. Oh, it looks like Shine's also finished. Oh, the mouse is already, it's ceremonial now. Shine's like, no, I need that. We're going to need that later. But it was a good gesture. All right, here we go. From 15. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mics down! Let's hear some applause for our contestants. Amazing. Amazing. And now, after watching them construct a visualization from what we have established already is a very difficult data set, I'd just like to say congratulations to all of you. You did fantastic work. And we'd like to know more about it. So we're going to take a look at Shine's visualization, and we're going to look at it on the main screen, full screen here. So that's a big win. Shine, we'd love to know what you created.
All right. So when I was a little kid, I used to live in Mumbai, India. Anybody from India in the crowd? All right. And my dad would read the Times of India in the morning, and he would recommend some articles for me to read as well. And as I read through those articles, I learned a couple of lessons. One was the importance of empathy. I stepped into someone else's shoes as I read those articles, and I connected with them. And the second was just how short the lifespan of a news story was. 1 week you'd have a big earthquake, and the next week the news media would just move on to the next story, and those stories would be forgotten. So I wanted to build a dashboard that would tell all of those thousands of stories in this data set. And what I found when I analyzed the data was that each country has a story. Each country has a story. So let's explore Nigeria, for example, to start with. This top bar chart here, the length of the bars corresponds to the article intensity. It's a normalized measure of the number of articles. I had to use a normalization because the raw numbers didn't make sense in the data. Similarly, source intensity is the number of sources that cover that news story. So what you need to look at here is the really black bars, which are tall. And if you click on them, you see the map that gets filtered to the location. So this black dot here is a location where the kidnappings of 276 schoolgirls happened in Nigeria, and 219 of them are still missing. This final chart here talks about the sentiment of the statements made by people in various countries. It's interesting how it shows the different countries that had some sort of interest in that event. So for example, I looked up Mali and the Central African Republic because there was a lot of negative comments there, and I found that there was a French military operation in Mali that led Boko Haram to enter Nigeria, so presumably denials there. And then the Central African Republic, there was some reports of the kidnapped girls being seen there. So again, more denials there. One of the cool things about this is also you can either explore the news stories from that week for that country, or even view the images. So for example, you can look at these images and you see
I learned how to do that today.
going back on the right? You see all the images, you see Michelle Obama supporting them as well. So it's really interesting. So let's take a look at a few more countries here. Let's say Nepal. Obviously, the earthquake here that happened, the epicenter was Kathmandu. There were some avalanches at Mount Everest. A few more countries. Maybe you two could think through this and figure out, what was the big story here? Any guesses from anyone?
Bombing.
Charlie Hebdo. Yes, exactly. What about Malaysia? I know everyone knows the big story there, but what about this one? If you look at the players here, you probably remember that it was the missile that shot an airplane in Ukraine. So as you can see, there are countless stories in this data. For example, Guinea, there you see the Ebola outbreak. I just wanted to end with a quote from Daniel Pink, our keynote speaker from yesterday, and he said that empathy is about standing in someone else's shoes, feeling with his or her heart, and seeing with his or her eyes. And I hope that I have helped you do that today. Thank you.
Charles, why do you think your visitor deserves to win? Why do you think your visitor deserves to win?
I mean, it is a stunning visualization. It embodies everything about data visualization that we hope to. The accuracy there, everything, making sure the context was right, making sure that when he built his measures that they accurately reflected that. It's actually, today is kind of an auspicious day in India. It is the festival of Dussehra, which is the triumph of good versus evil. And I see that reflected somewhat here. I'm not calling the other two competitors evil. Let's make that clear. I'm talking about the evils of being able to lie with data. It's very easy. This is a data set that had a lot of opportunities to do that. Shine, he took a very analytical approach, very scientific approach to it, making sure that everything he represented was backed up by a fundamental human empathy to it. And that's what I see. I see today as the triumph of good data visualization, good ability to explore these intimate experiences versus kind of the ability to take the easy way out. So honestly, I couldn't be happier. So.
Well, that is what IronViz is all about, showing the deeper story. Matt, we'd love to hear about your visualization.
Yes, this was a really rich data set, exploring the interactions between different actors in different events, but I kind of want to take a different spin on it. I wanted to try to answer one of the questions that is really common is who can you trust in the media? So every news outlet has a different spin on their stories. And so what I've done here with the slip chart on the left is I've ranked the sentiment of the event of the article, and then on the right side I've ranked on the left side I've ranked the sentiment of the article, and the right side I've ranked the sentiment of the event. So if the line slopes negatively, you can tell that they're spinning the stories negatively. If it's a positive line, they're spinning the stories positively, and anybody with a flat line means that they don't really have a bias in their story. So if you see here, when you search for United States, allafrica.com is actually one of the least biased because their line is flat. And so you can actually click into the scatter plot and read the article, or you can use the heat map or the tree map to get the articles. So you're able to easily see like if someone has a negative bias, or positive bias. Actually, my color legend is backward, but that's tough. So yeah. But yeah, I think overall this scales really well because you can search for any topic. So if you search for a more polarizing topic, like maybe North Korea, you'll see like more bias in the articles. So really, there's no one with any flat lines. So everyone that's reporting on North Korea has some kind of spin on their articles. So that was really the idea of this, is to build basically a search engine to find news sources that are non-biased.
So the viz at the top right is telling us that articles about North Korea have a significant negative bias.
Well, it's saying that they're either positively or negatively biased. There's really no unbiased sources. So like flat lines would be an unbiased source.
Right, that makes sense.
All right, let's hear it for Matt Chambers. Adrian, why do you think Matt deserves to win?
Yeah, so first of all, I don't think you can trust anyone with a bow tie. So no, I mean, this dashboard is useful to everyone. I mean, we all read the news, and when you read something, sometimes you forget that you're relying on what the journalist, the way he wrote it, what he thought about the story. So this tool, you can use it tomorrow before reading anything. So if something big happens, you can see with this dashboard what you should read first to avoid to be tricked by anyone or any media. So I think that's helping everyone out.
Thank you.
This is Scott.
Skylar, it's your turn to tell us about your visualization.
Thank you. So I titled my life according to a slogan of my favorite music festival, and that's Radiate Positivity. And so I got this data set, and I saw two event types. Makes an optimistic comment and makes a pessimistic comment. So I thought it'd be interesting. I'll compare those two things. I'll see what stories, what countries, what news sites have a slant towards optimism and what slant towards pessimism. So I built this exploratory dashboard. I wanted to make it simple and colorful. In the top left, I'll just go quickly through the visualization, is the news story. And there's wildcard search, and the news sources in the last year and a half, so the Clintons have been in the news for a while. You can see, I can bring those up. Hillary Clinton, a lot more mentions than Bill Clinton. She's been on the campaign trail. Bill Clinton has a more positive or a more optimistic slant, probably because he's not being attacked from a bunch of different angles. And so you can go in here, and of course, clicking in anything filters the rest of the visualization, so you can see the United Kingdom mentioned 505,000 times, the below and the country all changed. I also wanted to look at by country, so I just recently came back from a trip to Iceland. I really liked it. Everyone was super happy there. So I am interested in other parts of Scandinavia and what are there places that are even more optimistic than Iceland was. So I'll drag these things. I'll select Scandinavia, and you can see, well, Sweden, Denmark, those are probably places I should go visit. And you can see some of the top news sources that are reporting on Scandinavian countries. And then this big mess at the bottom, that I call like the down the data rabbit hole, is this big tree map that shows every data source that's reporting on these news events. Of course, more blue represent more optimistic, and the orange pieces represent pessimistic, and they're sized by the popularity and how much readership they have. So if you click in here, maybe I'll click in one of the bigger, darker orange spots, and I can see, not a good example, but if I click in here, you can see the types of events that they're talking about, and the countries that they cover. And in the middle there, I wanted to put a filter based on event type. So all these events are grouped into like multinational companies or government. I wanted to, instead of just putting in a filter, I wanted to make it nice interactive viz within the dashboard. So I clicked in multinational company. You can see some of the most popular companies and their positive, negative slant. And then of course I have a filter at the top that can find the scope.
Excellent work.
Can you tell us a little bit about why Skylar deserves to win?
Well, I really identify with Skylar's mission to radio positivity, but unfortunately, in the last few years, I've become kind of cynical because the way that I was consuming my news media, I realized that, you know, it just doesn't seem like a very positive world these days. So I kind of stopped reading the news because of that. And after seeing Skylar slice through this data, I actually convinced now that the world is actually more balanced in terms of news than I thought. And he's radiating that information out to all of you. So I think it's a great thing for the world, and I think everyone needs to know that the world's actually more unbalanced than we think. If you take a look, you'll notice that Skylar has a very strong design aesthetic. So it's like kind of this pop aesthetic with like some clean lines and a consistent palette. And I think it's beautiful, and I think that the judges will agree. In fact, I'm positive.
Thank you, Raymond. Thank you to all of our IronViz visitors. You guys are amazing.
Well, I just saw the scores from the judges, and they're going to the calculation room, which is Josh scribbling furiously. So, judges, it's time for us to hear about your thoughts on these visualizations. Now, we're going to ask all of you about all of the visualizations. So if you could keep your remarks to something along the lines of like this, I would have done that differently. That would help us to keep things on schedule. So Anya, tell us what you think about Skylar's visualization.
I really love the colors. I love the very clean layout and the design. I love that you left the annotation layers on the axes. I love just the message of positivity, right? That really resonates with me. So I think it's a very beautiful visualization. At first I was kind of confused by the heat map as using it like as a navigation element, but then later I understood more about the context. I like the filter by event type. I don't know that I would have put it right in the middle of the screen. That seems to interrupt the flow a little bit. And especially because you're breaking up the colors between the top and the bottom, so I might have put that up at the top by the time filter. But I really like the ability to search for a specific news story and then flow through the information of what countries are reporting on a positive or negative basis. So I thought that was a nice story that you popped out really well. Good job.
Lisa, what did you think?
Skylar, it's gorgeous. It's really beautiful. I love the color selection. I love that. It's really beautiful to look at. You know, I can kind of, and I love the message. You know, it's a great way to think about the world. And so I just love your angle there. And I love the wildcard search. Okay, I'm a news junkie. I'm sort of interested in things by country or by whatever, but to be able to go there and say, I'm interested in, you know, I was sweating profusely yesterday and thinking about Marco Rubio. You know, so I was like, oh, I could type in Marco Rubio. He sweat more than I did yesterday. so I just really like it. The heat map's a little overwhelming to me, and I agree the filter by event type, I love that too because everybody loves a little bit of the news they follow heavily. So I really like having that there. Maybe positionally I might have put it in a different place, but really nice job. Really nice job.
I agree. This is a very nice job, very beautiful. I already talked about the color scheme being good for people who are colorblind. So this is a tree map. We're going to see another one in a moment. This is the kind of, if you're going to do a tree map, it's not visual best practices. I mean, if you really want to compare magnitudes, a bar chart is a much better choice. But here this is stunning in the sense that we can see an incredible number of different categories at the same time. And you can see in particular on the orange ones that are small but really bright and pop out. This is a use for tree maps, and I think it's a way to use it, and it's being used to a certain extent here. Although you clicked on one of the really bright orange ones and it didn't have that much of interest to it, so it only works to a certain extent. But I still think it's a really great job, and I agree with my other judges on like the filtered by event type could have been at top, because what's going on there is, you know, you're inviting people in to do the work, and the thing you put in the upper left-hand corner, you have the wildcard search up there, which is where you started, and that is the place that people tend to start. And so I think that's very good. We'll talk about that some more in a moment. So.
Yes, we will. Judges, let's take a look at Matt's visualization, and we'll talk a little bit about it. And actually, Jock, since you're kind of already on the tree map discussion, I'll just start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your thoughts?
Yeah, so this tree map, actually I had a confusion about this tree map, which is, I was trying to figure out why there wasn't any orange in the tree map. And so I'm not completely understanding how it connects with the orange that's above, with the accent, with the legend that's at the top. And that legend is actually, I think, really critical for me to understand what's going on here. This is a very technical, this is sort of statistics vid. I need to know what tone Z score is. I don't. And so I need to understand that. I need to understand what the ranking is to really understand whether I actually trust that this viz is telling me whether I should trust the underlying data or not. So I need to know something about the technical calcs that are behind there. Slope graphs are quite useful. I think we could do a better job in Tableau with our slope graphs, but I think that choice is perfectly fine for understanding what things are going up. But I don't understand exactly why it's exactly these data sources that are there out of all the possible data sources in this database. So I'm still trying to understand this one to a certain extent.
Cool, great, nice job. First of all, I love the positive, I'm an optimistic person, but I'm a cynic. So I totally was like, which media sources are biased? Of course there are biased media sources. So that was kind of attractive to me, to see that. But I'm not really understanding on the face of it, like article sentiment versus event sentiment. And then when I try to go diagnose the color, the tone Z-score, I'm like, oh crap, Z-scores, I learned that in college or something, so maybe a missed relabel of that would have probably helped me. And then again, I agree that tree map is a little bit like, what's that? How does that connect? What am I navigating to? But overall, good job. I do like the slope graph because it just gives me a fun sort of like, oh, those, British, they're pretty cynical and hey, look at Yahoo, so it's just kind of fun to affirm some of my opinionated beliefs.
Great. Yeah, I like the concept of the bias. I think that was a great story to pop out. So of course, I want to know that as well. There's a lot of competing going on, like you have the bias by media source and the bias by article, and then which article I should read. I don't quite understand how that relates to the rest of it. There's an annotation layer there that's missing. Which article should I read based on what? Like, I'm not understanding the context. So maybe a little bit better design of the flow of going from the media source to the article to the depth of the article, perhaps. I was also confused by the enter keyword and seeing a country. So that was a little odd for me. But I really like the concept of the bias and trying to pop out that story.
Thank you, and thank you, Matt. Shine, you're the last target for our judges, so they're gonna tell us a little bit about what they think about your visualization. Anya, I think the microphone's probably still in your vicinity, so do you want to start?
You rocked it, baby.
You rocked it.
I really love the flow in this. The storytelling in the flow is just absolutely phenomenal. You start with the concept of the country, you can see what's going on in the country and easily pop out the days where there were big news stories and get the details where you flow to where did it happen, what are other people, what is their take on it, and then drill through to the actual final details. So just a phenomenal use of building flow into a dashboard to help tell the stories in different countries and how different countries report on the news. So that was wonderful. I like the font that you used. It's it's the nod to the newspaper, but it's not overly cutesy. So it's just a very slight hint without being over the top gimmicky. I really enjoyed that. I love your annotation layers. You have all your your color index in there. You have your size index. So you just did a really good job. I would have wanted like a teeny pop of more color. It's a little too black and white, which I think because you were going for a newspaper, that was what the aesthetic you were going for. But just something to help pop out the color to highlight the particular story that I happened to be looking at the time might have been something to pop out there. You have amazing tooltips, like you should be hovering over those to show those up a little bit more right now. yeah, all in all, just a beautiful flow, excellent, clean design and layout. Awesome job.
Agreed. I love it. I used to work for newspapers, so I love the gray. A little color is nice, but I like the green, but I love the gray. It really brings me back to my newspaper days. And the headline, I love that you put in a little humor, editor-in-chief. Of course you're the editor-in-chief. But it's so cool because it's a great set of stories here. You know, I really do want to know, like, oh, what is going on in that country? How are they reporting this incident or what have you? I really appreciate it. So overall, beautiful. Easy to get through, easy to go through the flow of what you're trying to tell me, the story you're trying to do. I love the interactions, are really great. I mean, I just feel like I could sit here and explore this dashboard for like hours. You know, I just feel it. And the thing that's awesome is I also have more questions that I'm like, hey man, and you know what, I'm not intimidated at all about this. I feel like if I saw this on a Tableau Public, I would download this workbook and I would start asking more questions. And that to me is like the ultimate test of a great viz. So congratulations, I love what you did.
Really good. One of the things about storytelling with data, particularly when you have large data sets, is that people want to be, they're interactive views. People want to make them personal, and your flow in your design really sets it up. It's like I can go look at a particular country, and then from there to a particular, you know, you're using bar charts, which is really the way to show quantitative data, and the bar that pops long is the one that is telling you the story that's really interesting. So there's this great flow that you have going down from those parts, and then there's depth as well. And then luckily my judge didn't mention it. I thought the images that you added when you drilled down was really an awesome addition. So that was a really good choice of an additional data set. It was really excellent. So the focus, the best practices are really top notch here. You know, you didn't need a tree map here. The bar charts carry you a really long way here. Obviously for geographic data, maps are really, really good. So excellent.
We've taken a look at all of these visions we've heard from our judges. Now, all we need is the final result.
Can we get a drum roll?
Liz? And the winner of the 5th anniversary Tableau IronViz Championship is Shine! So that next year will be a keynote.
Hay que preparar.